Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us for today's workshop on an overview of the new NITRO features. My name is Krista White, and I'm joined by our VP of Product Development, James Restivo. He's got some fun new things to share with us today, but before we kick things off, before I hand things over to him, just a couple housekeeping things. We do have a question box right there on the right-hand side of GoToWebinar. So don't be shy. We do put these workshops on for you. We do want these to be interactive, and we're here to answer your questions. So go ahead and use that question box. That's why it's there. Also, this will be recorded, and we'll be posting it to YouTube as well as posting it on our site within 24 hours. So if you have any questions, you want to reference anything, you will have that recording available to you. And we'll touch on some of the really higher level elements of the new features today, but if you do have something hyper specific to your organization that we need to drill down in a little bit more, we can always have a conversation after the workshop. That being said, anything, certainly more general, or if you're just not sure, go ahead and use that question box. So I will go ahead and hand things over to James. James, thank you so much. What do you have for us today for our workshop?
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate the handover. Let me go ahead and make myself presenter, and I'll show my screen. I don't have a heck of a lot to show on my screen. It's a lot of back-end setting stuff. Yeah, what we're going to talk about today, there's a few things we've got out the door in the last month or so since our last workshop. A few tweaks, little improvements here and there, and hopefully you'll see, maybe these small improvements will be big help for your implementation of NITRO. So we definitely want to touch on those things that will help you. But I will pull back the curtain a little bit on our dev calendar towards the end of this workshop, because what you don't see in the releases that we put out there is all the work we're doing in the background with a lot of really new, exciting things coming through in development. I mean, unless you live under a rock, you've heard about ChatGPT and AI and all that stuff. So we're full force developing in that direction. I'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the workshop, but for these purposes, for the purposes of the start of this, at least first few minutes, I'm going to talk about some of the things we have done with NITRO that you've got in your updates, recent updates. And I think for the on-premises, we just did an update for some of these things as well as for our online folks. So again, somewhat minor things, but you may find them useful for you and your use of NITRO. One of the things we're going to talk about is this list view web part, where there are a bunch of different settings. And if you missed the previous workshops, we've talked about some of these different settings, and we'll talk about. I think it's important to highlight that there's a lot. We're continuously adding in new things to our list view web part that makes it more functional, or it can do certain things or do different things. And a lot of that you're going to find in the advanced settings area. Eventually these will, down the line, we'll make first class settings for these, so you can turn them on and off, toggle them on and off. But for now, we do have a lot of options here for the list view web part, and some we released in previous releases, but I'll just touch on them a little bit now, because we have also put out a new one where you can hide the web part when there are no items. And you'll notice on the page behind that this web part's actually hidden. That's kind of an interesting thing. If you wanted to, kind of dynamically configure the page based on whether there are actually items to show in the view or not, you could do that. And that's going to apply for, let's say it's like my open whatever, my purchase request, or my purchase orders, or my tickets, or whatever it is. You can, if they don't have any, you can hide that web part entirely, so maybe refocuses the whole screen on something else. Because if you have this set to false, you just highlight it, change it to false, and or it comes as false out of the box, but you can change it to true on the fly. So I changed it to false, or I changed it to true, and I'm changing it back to false. And just go ahead and republish this. And it might take a minute. Let me do a hard reset, because sometimes it takes a hard reset to show it. Let me go ahead and do that. Control F5 sometimes helps kickstart the caching and restarts it. But see, now here's the web part. So it was hidden, now it's shown, and you can see there's nothing in there to show. So this will work in cases where you have a single list view associated with the list view web part, and where there's no items in that list view. So it does give you a way to dynamically control what that web part, whether that web part is shown or not. And again, that's over here in our advanced settings on the list view configuration page. And you see this actually changed a little bit too. The look and feel of this got updated as well. But we can go ahead and hit that back to true, and that'll hide it. And if you just go through the list of things that you have options to change, it's actually quite a bit. I mean, we talked about the columns filterable last time. We talked about whether list formatting, KPI colors we can put in there, associate items information. I think this one's a good one. The columns filterable allows you to pull the drop down of filtered items down and actually select the value rather than having to type it in, which was kind of a drawback of the list view web part, but now it's a feature that I think you'll find very useful. Hide or show the web part title. So a bunch of different things in here that we've put in as options for you to control what it looks like. There's also like header styles that you can play with. And if you have time, if you have a web part that you have up on a page, I think it's just fun to go and change these different settings and see how you can get it to look. Because you can tighten it up, lighten it out, change the color of the background, change the color of that command bar background. So there's a lot of different things you can do there that we'll be escalating into full-fledged feet. They'll move them out of advanced settings eventually, but for now, this is where you can find them, so you can go and play around with these things and get them configured for your site. But that's the big new one for this update for the list view, is to hide or show that list view web part, based on whether or not there are items in it. You can see if I go back to save my settings, and I might have to do a hard refresh to get it to take effect, but simply edit, republish, and then do Control F5. And yeah, you'll see that it's gone now. Now, of course, it still appears as a box when you hit it in edit mode, but you're not going to see anything when it's not in edit mode. So that's the list view web part. There's there's a small update to list rollup. I don't know if if any of you ever noticed, but someone came to us and said, hey, we can't change the view that we're pointing to in the list rollup after we configure it. So you have to delete that data point and reconfigure it. So we thought, well, that sounds like a good change to make. So we went ahead and did that with our list rollup, where if you come into the list rollup settings and edit the settings there, under the data column is where you associate which view of the list that you're pulling into that list rollup. And previously, what would happen is if you edited this, you would not be able to change this setting. But we felt it was a good change to make, to go ahead and allow you to change that setting if you wanted to pull in a different view. Gives you a little more flexibility, and when you're creating the items, you can get a different view in there to associate with that list rollup setting. So again, kind of a minor thing, but just in usability and in flexibility of how you configure things, that's one of the things we're adding in there. So that's the list view web part. I'm sorry, list view and list rollup web parts. Another thing we're looking at with the custom actions, a couple of improvements we made with custom actions, that really two of them. And one is this new function for formatting a value. It's we call format value 2. And we can take that, we can specify it as a currency, a date column, or a number column for that format value 2 function. So it allows you to format your column settings to a specific type of item, like especially like a number column. You can do either a currency column, a date column, or a number column. So that allows you to do that. So you use that in the settings of custom actions and the update items or create item action. But the other thing we did that I think is a little more effective or a little more interesting for our customers, and let me just pull up, I think any one of these will work. Let me pull up an item here. So we had some customers come to us and say, hey, my folks are running a custom action. Let me get display mode up. They're running a custom action, but then they close out of the browser and that custom action, it ends that process. Can we have a way to prevent that from happening? And we said, yes, that's fine, we can do that. So what you'll now experience if your users or any one of you are running a custom action and try to close the browser, it'll give you an error. It'll give you a warning that says, your changes won't be saved. So let me just show this real quick. It even works after the action is complete because this one's a really quick one, and I was looking at this earlier. If I click the X on the browser window, it says your changes may not be saved, and we want to keep them, so we're going to stay, and then we're going to close, and now we can close it out without a problem. So I'm just going to copy that, close it out. There you go. See, now it closes. So bring that back up. So that's a nice, another like kind of usability feature, so that folks who are running custom actions, maybe it's a long custom action with a lot of different pieces to it that you want to just really make sure your folks are letting that action complete before you close out, then that gives you the option to give them, to show them, hey, you still got something happening on this page, you got to wait until it's done, and then you can close it out. So another kind of usability thing that we have there. The other thing I wanted to show you, and I for some reason I couldn't quite get it working in the demo environment, and I apologize, I won't be able to show it on today's workshop, but we do have a list search, a couple of list search updates where you can now use a wildcard in your search. So you can use a asterisk to do your search. We've also added in an option to tokenize your search, which means previously what would happen is if you typed in a phrase into the search box, it would only search for that phrase in whatever tickets or SharePoint items it's looking for. But now if it doesn't find items, or it could even be set to always, it'll split those words into different search queries. So if you look for, list search, all right, let's do Del Vostro because these are assets. Del Vostro, it's going to look for Dells, it's going to look for Vostros. It's not going to be just that. Actually have it set to all items. Let me just show you the difference. Hopefully this will work on this workshop. But the asterisk wasn't working for me, so hopefully this one will. So we're going to always tokenize it, which means we're always going to take these as separate inputs essentially. So we're going to have Del, and then we're going to have Vostro. And yeah, okay, it looks like it's not working. So I'm going to work with my team, make sure that that gets cleaned up and tightened up. But those are the features we're hoping to release in this list search. If it's not quite working for this release, we'll definitely be getting that fixed up and ready for the next release, so that the list search is a little more functional. It gives you a lot more results, gives you more more ways to search, so you don't have to worry about getting the phrase exactly, at least if you get one word right, or if we get the wildcard working, you can have the that inform what the list, the thing is searching for to help you out with that. So you just know the first 3 letters, you just hit the wildcard and you're good to go. So hopefully we can get that going, and we'll be able to show that on the next workshop. There is also something we added in here that is adding in support for blank column search. So if we could, previously if you wanted to search for something that is empty, it wouldn't come up. But now we can search for situations where a particular field is empty. So if you wanted to kind of if you want to look for unassigned tickets where the assigned staff field is blank, which it kind of would be by default, you could now use the search feature to do that, or where any particular field is empty, or if you add a column to your list and you want to go back and update previous items that were created before you added the column, you could go and find out, okay, where is this column empty? Let me pull those items out. And again, I always like to show this because I think it's a really cool feature of the list search tool. Let me do where assets title. Let's see. The title contains Vostro, because I know it does. Search. There's an export to Excel function, which is hidden in this view. Let me go ahead and add it real quick. Advanced. Yeah, unhide that. And let me do the search again. Okay. Title contains Vostro. So you got the export to Excel, which I think is a really cool feature of the list search, where you can search for things, and rather than creating a list view in SharePoint, that you can then export, you can actually export just the items that get returned in this view. So if you use that, if the column is empty feature, like let's say you want to look for where assigned to is empty, let's kind of add that to here. So we want to say title contains phosphoro and assigned to is empty. And fingers crossed that works. It does. That's great. Now we can export this to Excel as like for auditing purposes or for data for just to save internally, or you can run reports on it. All sorts of things you can do with it, or you can just simply come in and edit these items and add the missing information as needed. So another usability improvement with the list search feature. But yeah, so that's a couple of things we got going for list search, a couple of things we got going for list roll up, a couple of things we got going for list view. So like I said, a few minor changes, but really, the thing we're working on most is this AI stuff, and it's really exciting what we've got working on. We're going to be looking at using open AI services through Azure to take your data, your enterprise data, or even specific to a help desk site data or whatever site you're using, and use that to create this conversational ChatGPT interface within Crow Canyon, within SharePoint. And so that we're working really hard on that, and we're looking at targeting a at least the proof of concept within the next week or so, and then hopefully have something we can roll out as a full-fledged feature within the next month or so to get things have that ChatGPT integration with Nitro Forms or with our help desk. And that's the other thing actually we're working on is the not just that conversational aspect of ChatGPT. It's going to also look at developing and actually creating and generating Nitro Forms through ChatGPT. So you can just have a conversation with the bot or with a ChatGPT interface that says, I want to create a Nitro form and I want it to have, whatever it is. It can even just be very simple. Like I want to have example we like to use is like a nurse brain dump form. So that's where a nurse at the end of her shift will want to, or his shift, will want to put their information into a form for the next person who's coming on their shift to see, okay, here's what was done, here's what this person reported, et cetera. And just simply by typing that in, it creates a form that is maybe a few tweaks and you're ready to use it. So we're really working really hard on having that level of usability where you just type in what kind of form you want and ChatGPT will go and put you right into Nitro Forms with all the not all the configurations, but at least the basic structure of what you want to create already in place. So you just need to go and make a few tweaks to it. The other thing we're working on, which is a little longer of a time frame, is this ability, and is kind of the holy grail of converting InfoPath forms into Nitro forms. That we've looked at various solutions over the years. Nothing really quite fit the bill to get a direct update from one to the other. And so that's another thing we're working on. And not really just InfoPath forms, any other type of form or any other type of thing you might be working with. We want to look at ways that we can use ChatGPT to intake that form and spit out something that you can use in Nitro Forms to just go and have it, at least, if not, one-to-one immediate creation, at least be very so close that you really just only have to make a few tweaks and you're good to go. So those are some really exciting things that are coming down in the AI world and in the using ChatGPT and OpenAI. So that's why this might be a little bit lighter of a update than usual, just because a lot of our development resources are going towards that. Of course, as you come up with items that you think would be useful for Nitro, we're happy to field those and put them on our, consider those as on our dev calendar if we find they're useful. And that's really the nice thing about Nitro. I think a lot of you know this already, but I'm just going to reiterate it here, is that it's citizen developed in a way. We're not saying here, like me, Krista, the developers, saying, okay, our customers need this and they're going to love it, and I don't care that no one's asked about it. We're going to roll it out. That's not the way we work. It's always coming from feedback from our customers, real life scenarios, real life situations that you're experiencing, that problems that you have, problems that you want to solve. That's why Nitro is such a great tool for our customers, because it does take into account all the feedback from our customers over the many years that we've been working with you guys to improve it. And certainly that's, as Krista mentioned, we're happy to always take feedback, always take improvement suggestions, or, hey, I'm struggling with this, I can't quite get this to work, or hey, it'd be nicer if you had this little feature over here. Love that feedback. We take it all the time. So always feel free to reach out to us for any of those things. And just one last thing I actually wanted to talk about is something we're working on that is in development as we speak and should be released probably soon, is the ability to overcome this 5,000 item threshold error that SharePoint has just natively in it, where you try to pull back a list view or report or tile or something that has over 5,000 items in it, you're going to get an error. What we're developing on is a way to get around that. And I believe we've tackled it for reports, we've tackled it for tiles and dials. We're going to be tackling it for list views in the next few weeks. Look for those updates to be coming out soon, and probably in the next, one of the next few Nitro updates in the next few weeks. You're going to have a way to have a list view that has more than 5,000 items. I find that really exciting because this has been a problem since I started working with SharePoint 11 years ago. It's always been a problem. Can't show more than 5,000 items in a view or in a report, or can't, once it goes over 5,000, you have to start indexing and working on ways around it. We've got a way around it now that we're going to be pushing out soon. So hopefully you guys will be excited about that and give you a lot more flexibility, a lot more usability for your reports. So you don't have to start, might not have to time box them as much as you have in the past, where a report, you can only have a report for the last 3 months or last 6 months, depending on your level of usage. Now it's going to be a report for all time, for all items across the board. Now I say that, and I don't know if there's going to be any limitations with it, but hopefully not. I think it'll just be a way to get around that, and look for that in a future update within the next few weeks, or within certainly by the time this rolls around again in August, I'll hopefully be able to show you some of that awesomeness. But yeah, that's pretty much all I had today. I thank everyone for coming and listening to me babble on for several minutes about this, that, and the other thing. As Chris has said, if you have anything you want to pop in to questions box, we're happy to take that. Or if you have any feedback, send it over. Like Chris has said, this is for you guys. This is for you to get your best use out of Nitro. And help solve your real world business problems and your real world challenges that you have on a day-to-day basis. So again, thank you all for joining. Krista, anything else?
That's all I have for today, but I really, I don't know about anyone else, but I was sitting here on mute just cheering to myself about the 5,000 list view expansion, basically. I think I'm really excited about everything coming down the pipeline. And, I do have to say, I really, what you said about the feedback from our customers and, being customer developed, I think that's spot on. It's really not about what we want. It's about what you want, what you need. And really appreciate you, James, taking the time today to share the fun things coming down the pipeline, as well as the latest updates. I think we've got some great stuff going.
Yeah, we got some really good things. We did have a question come in about using ChatGPT to get some specific support. So just to touch on that one real quick, we have worked on ways to do that. We actually internally, if I read the question, it's like, is there a PDF version of the .info and .help sites you'd be comfortable with using ChatGPT with? Well, what we've done is we've as our proof of concept internally, we took the content from those sites, at least from .help. I can't recall if they also did .info, and we put it into a particular there's a particular format that ChatGPT has to take into it, and we're able to use that, and we were able to pull out results. Now, as far as making that more generally available or publicly available, I think that's something I got to talk to my team about, and how we can do that. But let's have a conversation, Joshua. I'll reach out to you directly about the ChatGPT stuff, and we'll see what you got in mind and what we can potentially look at for using that. But that's one of the ideas, is to have it not just for help desk customers who are reading their own KBs and tickets, although it's going to be useful for that as well, but also for you guys who are working with Nitro to have a place to come in and ask questions that are going to be relevant. Now I know, OpenAI, ChatGPT that they have out on the web only goes up to like 2001 or so, or not 2001. I'm sorry, 2021, not 2001. That'd be really old. 2021. And so there's going to be a lot of updates that we've released on our version release notes that aren't going to be picked up in that that version. But yeah, that's definitely on our radar to talk about how we could have a ChatGPT interface for our customers to use to get information. So we'll be drilling down into that in the near future as well. So great comment. I appreciate that. And yeah, I think that's it. So thank you all for joining. Really appreciate it. And I hope everyone has an excellent rest of your day and hope to hear from you soon. All right. Thanks, Krista.